You're listening to The Freight Break on the BCS Freight Network with your hosts, Josh Haynes and Paul Gibson.
Welcome to The Freight Break, and this is our Road to the Summit episode.
Woot woot! Special episode alert. That's right.
Yeah, next week. Next week is the big time, 28th and 29th. It's going to be pretty cool.
That's true. This is your last chance to attend it by seeing this video, and I've got one more promo for you guys. It is a buy one, get one free. That's a good deal. I feel like an infomercial guy. Use the code SHIPPERBOGO.
If you're a shipper.
If you're a shipper, you know.
Yeah, the BOGO is for the shipper. That's why it's
for the shipper specifically. You're right.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. But there have been plenty of options along the way. I think we're more than fair.
That's true. And as well as you could just show up and just pay full price and again walk away with a couple $1 million deals, and it's money well spent, you know?
Yeah, and you could almost have like the BCS all year round by sponsoring this podcast if you wanted to. We could put your name right here. We could do an ad read, or we could even come to you and make a commercial for you because we do that. And I think you're actually going to hear a lot about that at the summit. The production side of things is about to heat up, and you guys are about to see a lot more of us in a lot of other places.
Agreed. We've got some great people today. We've got some amazing sponsors. A couple of them are actually on today's show talking about the road to the summit. Who do we got, Paul?
We've got someone from Werner. We've got someone from Indemi, and it's the idea that we're all about partnerships here, you know, and it's for you going to the summit. I mean, wouldn't you want to hear from someone that's actually invested and believes in it, to hear, you know, what they think about it, what they're looking forward to, and what they want to get out of it. So here we go. First up, we've got Zach. How's it going, man?
Doing well, thanks. How you guys doing?
Oh, yeah, it's just that week before the summit. You know, it's like we were talking earlier, like, you know, it's when your job mostly revolves around 4 days a year, and those 2 days are next week, it gets a little wild.
Oh yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, we're our team's going, so we're super excited. It's just around the corner, so I'm getting everything in a sprint, getting it all ready for next week.
It's kind of like the Super Bowl, just our tickets are cheaper to get in, and we don't have like Beyonce dancing. You know, maybe that's the next one. That's an idea for the next one right there.
I mean, sometimes those loaded and rolling parties get pretty eventful.
Energy's up there, right? It's really close. You know, when I went to the Orlando conference last year, a lot of folks just like mingling and networking out on the floor, and I loved it. I don't think I went to another conference last year that was similar to that.
Did you get to see Paul ripping the guitar in the House of Blues?
I did see him doing that.
I could tell your face looks still a little melted, like everyone in the audience. Paul just got there, just melted faces.
Oh my God. Stop.
Where can I find you on SoundCloud, Paul?
There it is.
It's on Instagram. But anyway, we're not going to get to that. Let's stop talking about what I do. What do you guys generally do? Like your company, like what is it? Can you kind of give me an overview for the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So just by way of intro, so I'm Zach. I'm the co-founder CEO of Indemni, based in California. And what we do is ground level shipment intelligence. So we work with all logistics providers, primarily freight brokers and shippers, to basically verify what's happening on the ground. And so we will run drivers through verification flows. This is at pre-pickup, at the point of pickup, at a stop during transit, or at the delivery. And we will verify everything from their phone numbers to their CDLs to selfie images to truck credentials to documents, making sure that everything matches. And all of this is validated in real time. So we are looking against the DMV, a couple other source of truth databases, and then cross-pollinating this information so then our customers have unique insights onto the performance of these carriers and the drivers.
That's cool. So like you can see all that, but also not just like, you know, because I know fraud's like a big thing. But at the same time, that helps with like that makes for solid, I would imagine, tracking, right? Just in general.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, strategic theft, I think, is like one of the biggest problems that folks have. And it's obviously taken up a lot of the losses in this industry. But, you know, we work with customers on all types of freight, right? Like it could be a trucking carrier that just wants to evidence cargo for any sort of damage claims, or it could be a shipper that wants photos of the seal or the proof of delivery. And then for freight brokers, it's being able to verify the identity of these drivers. Like we have certain customers that are moving a lot of USPS freight, and they want to be able to detect for non-domiciled. And so we'll show that immediately and be able to fail those verifications for them. So it's not just strategic theft. It's damage claims, it's detention. We can sort of validate what's happening there from a performance of the driver and their ETA to make sure that like, hey, this isn't actually going to be fraud. We could basically check on the compliance of these drivers and those shipments too. So it's been incredibly valuable for our customers.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it actually like encompasses a lot of other areas with that. But the industry is wild. And the past few years have been even more wild. So what's that like for you guys out there right now? Like what is your experience with the industry right now?
Yeah, it's been a ramp for us. I think we spend a lot of time with our customers, really making sure we understand their businesses. I always believe, from my background in tech, is working closely with the customers. If you can understand their pain points, then you're going to have the right direction for what you're building. But yeah, it seems like every week there's some story that's breaking, and I seem to be kind of sitting squarely in this bubble of strategic theft and what's happening there. But I'm also interested in what's happening on the insurance side and how folks are thinking about the implications of that risk. I'm interested in hearing about how liability is shifting with some of these Supreme Court cases. So I think, what we're seeing right now is it's kind of a new normal of what we've got to like get used to. And hopefully, folks are starting to adopt more of these tools. It's no better time right now to be able to integrate or use some of these tools just because of how advanced they're becoming and how helpful the ROI is when you start to implement them into your business. So it feels every week just feels like a sprint. It feels like something's going on and we've got to quickly build or work to get a better outcome for our customers.
Yeah, and I love that because I think that's one of the biggest things too, is like I'm a big fan of like I'm not gonna use your product or I'm not going to listen to your solution if you don't understand my problem. If you come to me and you assume my problem, any of that, like no, like if you haven't actually heard what I need. Like I'm not gonna, you're probably not gonna do a great job of like solving it in the way that I need it solved. So I love that. But yeah, no, it has been absolutely nuts. So who because you kind of talked about it too, like the summit is all about networking. Who are you most excited to network with to like find things out or learn things? Like what are you most excited to run into like out there at the summit?
I think, I kind of take a holistic approach. I think a lot of folks go to a conference and they focus on just trying to acquire new customers. I like going to conferences to learn. So I spend that time, sitting down with folks to really understand what's going on in their business. There could not be a better conference for us when it comes to, Broker Carrier Summit. Like we literally have two sort of core customers that we want in the room together, and so I'm really excited to chat with freight brokers and carriers. I'm also excited to have some friendly conversations with other vendors. One of the things that we want to start doing this year is do more partnerships with other vendors. So I'm kind of curious to see what sort of like complementary solutions there are out there. And then also, hopefully be able to show off more of what we do to the ecosystem. We've been working really fast and hard with our like core customers that we've built up. And so I think, getting that sort of exposure is going to be important, which is why we're sponsoring. We're going heavy this year with BCS. We want, everybody to be able to see Indemnity and what we do in terms of, ground level shipment intelligence. So that's probably what I'm most looking forward to. I'm also just looking forward to just like hanging out with some of the best people in the industry, right? I think the people make these conferences. So I'm glad that I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces that are going to be going.
Me and Paul definitely talked about it before, that it feels like it's a dysfunctional, like extended family gathering that comes together at these conferences. Specifically, it feels like the BCS is that one. And I love that you and your company is really just wanting to connect with people, checking all different areas. And it really is one of those conferences where there's amazing stuff that sessions that you can learn from, but it's also about connecting with those people like you were talking about. Be on the lookout, because I think there might be a dude running around in a costume.
Oh no.
That, I'm just saying you might not be able to miss him. I'm gonna keep my lips sealed. I'm just saying keep an eye out. You're probably not gonna be able to miss him.
Is this the introduction of your guys' mascot?
Maybe.
Is it a good decision? We don't know, but we will find out after Kansas City.
Yeah, no, it's it's always just like sometimes the best way to innovate is to just run it and see if it works. But because this airs before and a lot of people are making their plans and setting up meetings and stuff like that, who ideally is like the ideal person that you can be the most help to? Like if they're watching this, like who specifically should like seek you out would be like at the largest advantage to spending time talking to you guys?
Yeah. I mean, we can handle scale for any size of a freight brokerage or shipper. We've got a few enterprise customers we've brought onto our platform in the last 2 months. And so it doesn't matter what size of a freight brokerage you are. If you need any sort of support on being able to verify what's happening on the ground, and this is outside of just the visibility with tracking devices and ELDs, come to us. We'd love to be able to chat. Let us show you our solution, see if it could be a good fit for your guys' operations. Particularly folks that are moving USPS freight. May 1st, effectively, non-domicile drivers are going to be phased out of being able to move USPS freight. So if you have any volume of USPS, we detect non-domiciled already for a lot of our customers. We do thousands of shipments every week that we're verifying. And on average, 8% of those are non-compliant. And a large part of that is attributed to non-domicile drivers being detected. So if you want to sort of secure that sort of that front for your business, we're a solution that works for you. And then separately, also, if you're a freight broker that moves a lot of high value loads, anything above 100,000, especially if you're moving up above 1 million, come and chat with us. You can't compromise on the safety and security of your cargo or your customer's cargo. It's too high stakes. There's too much at stake to lose. So we would love to be able to support you guys on that front.
For those of you who are going to miss out and are watching this and maybe either made a bad decision or the economy's rough right now, and you're going to have FOMO, where's the best place for people to find you guys on the internet or get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can get in touch with me. My email is Zach, that's spelled ZACH, @indemni.com. You can also just go to our website, that's indemni.com, spelled INDEMNI. And then also at these conferences, I'll be there at BCS. My co-founder will be there at BCS. You're going to see a lot of our materials either on tables or on banners or the digital sort of adverts on the wall. So if you see that, and if you see a tall 6'8" guy walking around, then I think you found me.
Wait, whoa! So you're 6'8"?
You might be taller than me, which is weird.
And I get it, because sometimes I'm still like, how did I lose Josh in this crowd of people? That dude's like, but no. So that's awesome.
I always tell my friends when we're at an event together, there's no need for me to have one of those like totems that you'd see at a music festival. Just look for the head. Just look for the floating head above the crowd. You'll find me.
Well, we're excited to see you at the BCS.
The other day, I got the chance to talk to Andy from Werner. So let's go check that out. All right, and now we've got Andy from Werner. How's it going?
It's going good.
BCS, the idea is, bringing brokers and carriers together and, trying to understand what each side does. And, with Dan and everybody who took a lot of starting it, there was a lot of brokers. There haven't always been a whole lot of carriers. And I think you guys are one of the biggest carrier names to actually start coming to and being a part of things. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit, actually. It's surprising that we haven't been involved sooner, to be quite honest with you. I mean, it's broker carrier summit, right? So the reality is we're both. And so I think we're, fairly uniquely positioned to understand both sides of the equation. We can go and be a part of this and have a lot to offer, but at the same time, we have a lot to learn, right? And so that's kind of what a lot of this is about is, we're one of the largest motor carriers in the United States. And we're also one of the largest truckload brokers and logistics companies in the United States too. And so to be both and have the unique perspective of both, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, for sure, and we're super pumped to have you guys. And with that, one thing that I think is super interesting, because there's always the back and forth of like, oh, brokers are on top right now, oh, carriers are on top right now, and with you guys doing both, you do have a pretty interesting insight to like what that looks like all the way around. So what has that been like, especially the market lately, going from favoring brokers a lot more to now favoring carriers more? What does that look like for you guys, and what's your experience been?
Yeah, so when we got into the brokerage business, I think that was our mindset, right? It's like, hey, we probably need to do more brokerage when the trucking side of our business is down. But I think as the industry's evolved, I think that I think we have an opportunity to be successful in all kinds of climates. It's not necessarily the trucker's turn or the broker's turn. It really comes down to being really a disciplined operator on both sides, really being focused on what your carriers are looking for and how you help them, how you help support them, and at the same time solve problems for your customers.
Yeah, which I mean puts you at a solid advantage, because like what it looks like on the other side, which is amazing, because that's what we do at the BCS is try to create that that understanding. What are you guys most excited to possibly like get out of and like looking for at the BCS?
I think it's forming new relationships, right? There's been a lot of changes in this industry in my 23 plus years. It used to be very relationship based. It got more procurement centered over time, and then it got kind of tech centric here the last 5 or 10 years. And it's interesting because things are kind of cyclical, and I think it's kind of coming back to full circle. At the end of the day, you need to know the people that you're working with. Can you trust them? Do you have common goals? And so just going down and building some new relationships and helping the industry evolve, I think is really what we're looking forward to the most.
Yeah, and I mean, especially because one thing that the big talk lately, the past, it seems like probably, I don't know, probably like a year and a half, 2 years has been fraud. Has been like one of the big popular conversations, and it's wild the ways people have innovated on the fraud side of things, whether it's to fight fraud or the actual fraud itself has been crazy. And so it's like it's good to to have everybody around to do that. Like, what is your experience with that? Because saying that you've been around for a long time, I know I've been around for as long as I've been around. It didn't used to seem like that big of a deal, but it's really been on the forefront lately. What's that been like for you guys on both sides of it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's been tough the last couple of years. We've had some really unwelcome surprises in terms of cargo security, theft, fraud. I think it's always been an issue, but the reality is that the bad guys have gotten a lot more sophisticated. I think technology has honestly enabled that, and ironically, technology is a lot of what we're having to do to combat it. But it also comes down to your people and making sure that they're really well informed, really well aware of what could go wrong. Right? The old adage around Murphy was a truck driver. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And so that has stuck with me my entire career. And it's true because, especially when you're in a big business and the bigger you get, right, there's more people that you work with. It's a numbers game, and the bigger you get, the more likelihood that a bad actor slips through, right? And so eventually you're going to be dealing with somebody that you don't know as well, or you thought you knew better than you do, and they're going to pull one over on you. And so going back to the relationships, going back to really knowing who you're working with, who you can trust, and then educating your people on the right questions to ask, the right processes to use, and then putting tools and technology in their hands to combat that, so that hopefully you're weeding out a lot of the bad actors and the mistakes that can occur before it gets to a point where you've lost a load.
Yeah. Oh, no, for sure. And while there are a lot of great people who developed a lot of great things and doing a lot of great work to fight it, my whole thing that I always say is like, if there was a silver bullet for freight fraud, there wouldn't be freight fraud. And yeah, the communication and getting to know people, I think, is a huge piece of it. What are you looking at as far as the BCS? Like, what do you guys, not just what do you bring? We talked about what you bring. What do you actually want to get out of it? Is it more just like, so you guys do brokerage and you're a carrier at the same time? Like, who are you looking to meet? What would you like to find and call it like a win?
I want to meet carriers that are, trying to build a long-term, disciplined, sustainable business, right? And I think that's really important right now because there's a lot of short-term opportunities out in the market, and there's a lot of people that are trying to capitalize on that. And I as are we, right? We, it's been a long couple of years, and now there's some money to be made in the business, and I think we all have to do that for our people, for our shareholders. But at the same time, we don't want to meet people that are so short-sighted and have such a, short-term relationship mindset that we meet them today, we do business with them for a day or a week, and then we never talk to each other again, right? We're celebrating our 70 years in business. We didn't do that without cultivating a lot of long-term strategy, long-term discipline, long-term relationships. And hopefully our history is a good predictor of our future success. And we're looking for people that are like-minded, that want to work together to help us grow our business. And they can do things for us that maybe we can't do as well on our own. And hopefully we do some things well, whether it's sales, whether it's security, whether it's optimization and technology. If we can help extend some of the things to some of our partners that we do well, and they can complement that with their strengths, I think that everybody wins.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's one of the things that I always say about like the BCS is the idea that it's tough out there. We talked about Friday, like there's the bad actors, there's the people that are mostly in it for all the wrong reasons, and there's the people out there that are actually trying to make the industry better. And it's all about coming together and actually building a network where in an environment where it's barely built for, like someone to thrive in, for us to be able to survive together. Because as being in the industry for a while, there's a lot of the stuff's built on Band-Aids. Yeah. And so I guess it's, it's always nice to meet somebody, like a long history. What do you think about the industry today versus when you started? Like, I know when I started in recruiting in 2014, like ELDs hadn't quite been mandated, and I was still doing some verifications on fax machines. So in 23 years, what do you feel like about the industry when you started versus today?
Yeah, well, on the fax machine comment, I have spent a lot of time, not recently, but in years past, trying to eradicate fax machines from our organization. So I can completely relate to that. But really, when I started here, electronic logging devices weren't a thing, right? Everybody was running paper logs. Werner was actually the innovator of the electronic logging device. You can thank us for that or hate us for it. I'm sure there's people that still have strong opinions either way on that, but it's become ubiquitous in the industry. We were ahead of the curve there. When I started here, there were still trip cards floating around the building. We're on kind of our third generation of TMSs and technology platforms, and extending telecommunications to the driver and the truck. And so to see multiple generations of that technology come into the business, leave the business, and see it upgraded and evolve has really been it's really been quite fascinating. But I agree with you that the industry as a whole is still very much, I think, behind many other industries when it comes to the use of technology. But I think this time is different, right? I think it's becoming technology has become such a mainstay in business practice that if you're not innovating, if you're not investing in the latest and greatest tools for your people and your drivers to be efficient, to be safe, to provide a great customer experience, the industry, if it hasn't already passed you by, it's going to very quickly.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. And it's been wild too, because technology works. It's like an exponential growth. Some people see it and some people don't really notice it, but it's like the distance between like the industrial revolution and like the information age, whatever they wanted to call it back in like when the internet really started popping up, and the home computer versus the supercomputer. Now like cell phones and like AI, the way that it's growing. It has been really interesting to see trucking almost catch up, but it's like the faster it goes, it seems like we're catching up. I still think there's a gap there, but it's like the gap is growing, and it's been wild to see people adapt to that. Like I never thought I'd see the day where drivers are doing almost everything on apps.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem is it's such a massive industry. It's very complex. There's a lot of stakeholders. It's very fragmented. And the reality is that while companies maybe had technology that worked very well for them, it didn't necessarily work. Wasn't very interoperable with their carrier or their customers' technology. And so we used people and paper and email to kind of pull everything together. And now that a lot of these systems are able to be integrated and communicate, we've taken a lot of the steps out of the process, the time out of the process, the inefficiencies out of the process, and so information flows a lot better in our industry. Historically, I would always say we're great at moving freight and we're terrible at moving information in this industry, and I think that we're finally getting better at that as an industry, which I think bodes well actually for brokers, right? I think one of the things that historically people shied away from was it was a different level of trust and transparency and visibility using a broker to cover your freight than a motor carrier, right? Because you were adding a layer, you were adding complexity in the process and the information exchange. And I think we've closed that gap. And we've certainly done a ton in our logistics business to be at parity with the third party carrier, the partner carrier, as we are with our own company driver. And so, the customer should have the same level of trust, the same level of transparency and visibility and service, regardless of who's actually picking up and delivering the freight.
I love that. One last thing I want to ask you about is, so I was talking to I was doing an interview with Matt Silver from Cargado, and we were kind of talking back and forth about how, like, when it comes to technology on the freight side versus the carrier side, it's a lot easier for freight, like 3PLs and stuff, to adapt to new technology and bring in new technology and implement it. But with carriers, it's almost like there's not, because it's like you don't want to interrupt the process. It's like, because anything that takes implementation that's going to slow things down or stop things for a bit is going to stop the flow for everything. Whereas you've got a little bit more grace on the freight side. How do you guys go about like that balance with that?
I think that is actually where, as technology has made people more efficient, I think we lean on people more to bridge the gap through those implementations. I've been through a number of them in the last few years where we are implementing a new system, a new tool, deprecating the old way of doing things. And there's this really uncomfortable moment where you are still dependent on the old system. You're trying to stand up to new ones, implement it, get the information flowing through it, teaching people how to use it. And quite honestly, the people are what help the transition. We're huge on change management. It sounds like this kind of buzzwordy corporate thing, but informing, teaching your people in terms of not just how to do the job, but why are we making this change, right? People are either the biggest impediment to that change or they are the biggest enabler. And so you've really got to bring them along, teach them why you're doing it is the most important thing. I'm big on start with why, and then you can explain the what and the how. Get them bought in, make sure they're informed, make sure they know how their jobs are going to change. And their fear is usually rooted in things like, I know it's new and it's supposedly better, but I was really good at doing it the old way. Hey, I used to work with this group of people every day, and now all of a sudden, I don't interact with them as much or the same way, right? So there's a relationship component to that. some of them will, be fearful, like, well, nobody asked me. Like, they didn't ask me if I even wanted this new tool, right? It's a big, complex industry, so not everybody always gets a voice in every decision that's being made. But at the end of the day, if they understand this is for the betterment of your job, it's for the betterment of your customers and your carriers and the industry, people ultimately don't come to work every day to try to fail, to try to do a bad job. We all strive to be the best version of ourselves and make a difference every day. And so if they understand that this is just part of what's going to contribute to those, goals, then for the most part, they're going to get bought in.
Yeah. I love that people-centered approach. I mean, because that is what it takes. That is, you are right there. Like, people are either the reason why it works or the reason why it's not going to work. Especially with new stuff and change. And I love that. And that's the same approach that we tend to take at the BCS. And I think you guys are going to fit in great. If people want to get a hold of you or reach out to you, what is the best way for them to do that?
The easiest way to do it is hit our website, Werner.com. Customers can go there, our carriers can go there, our drivers go there. It really is kind of a great funnel to help you figure out exactly, some starting information that you're looking for. You can start the process there in terms of if you wanted to be onboarded as a carrier and go through that qualifications process. It's pretty quick. And within, a couple days, you're up and running, to be quite honest with you.
All right. Well, that's awesome. And, pretty excited to see you guys next week.
Yeah, Paul, I really appreciate the time. I can't wait to get down there. It's going to be a great opportunity for us.
All right. Well, that was awesome to hear from, some people that are going to be there. They're going to be on the ground, sponsors, and it's time. It is next week.
We need some Rocky Balboa music playing, where they're like in the locker room getting ready to like go fight, which again, please don't fight when you come to these. Like if, a broker or a carrier or a driver, I'm not saying that there's not bets placed that it won't ever happen, but let's restrain from it and be professional.
No, I get it. I pay lots of money for therapy, and hurt people do hurt people, but just because someone hurt you doesn't mean it's the people at the BCS. We are all there to try and make the industry a better place, and we can't wait to do it. But we've got a lot of work to do between now and then. So, yeah, I think that's about it.
It is. We'll see y'all next week at the summit, and everyone else, see you next time.
You've been listening to the Freight Break on the BCS Freight Network. And now, you're not.